Hey there. Okay, this is going to be video number 58, but video number 20 of module 3. This one's a little bit interesting, and we're going to be using the Bollinger Bands, okay, alongside the ADX. Alright. And what I noticed that was quite interesting is that when I got my crosshair tool out, I'm looking for the area where the ADX line has actually penetrated the 30, and I've just placed my crosshair tool right there, and I wanted to see what color it was of the candle when that actually happened, and it was red. So I thought, okay, let's go have a look at the next one. Okay, so now the direction of the trend has changed, and now the positive index is going above the 30. The ADX line is already above 30, so that's okay. And then I took a look, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's a green bar. So I kept on going through, and then I see another one, and I thought, okay, well that's interesting. That's also a green bar. So let's take a look and keep on going, but let's take auto scroll off, and let's see if we can find another instance. Okay, that's interesting. That's another green bar. Here's another area here. Okay, that's interesting. That's another green bar. The red. Okay, that's interesting. There's another red bar. Alright, so you're probably thinking, Loz, what are you talking about? Okay, so let me just show you. Alright, and double click on there, move that over just a little bit. Alright, let me just zoom in. Now you see where the negative directional index is actually hit 30 more or less at the same time as the ADX line. And also take a look at the bar that's right above it. It's red, right? Also take a look at the Bollinger Bands. If you can recall from from module 2, as I explained how to use the Bollinger Bands, you can see that the Bollinger Bands constricted, right? They got tighter, and then eventually the candle broke below, which dictate the rest of its trend. We got this confirmation from the ADX as well, so that was awesome. And then we go in on the next bar. Where can we place our TP target? Well, remember like these little bulges here? Alright, well I'm going to go back and I'm going to look to the left to see if there are any bulges to predict a target. Alright, that's where the current price is. So we've got, well, there's one there, and there's one there. A little bit like the Ichimuko, really. These are kind of like equilibrium levels, so to speak. Alright, so okay, that first line that we drew was no good because that was too high, and the buy was on this second red bar. Sorry, the sell was on the second red bar of the entry, so that would be no good. So if we would have got in there, then the next target would have been there. So we know that would have got hit, but well, in this particular example that we're showing you. So let's take a look at the next bar, or the next bulge, which is down there. It's at 129.61, and see what happened. And the market was going pretty nuts for a little while, and it did. It came down and hit that 129.16. So it's kind of interesting how these bulges in the Bollinger Bands seem to play a nice role where to put your take profit targets. Alright, let's see if we can find some more examples. Okay, now you see here where the ADX line does actually go above. Alright, well, we really need to see this negative directional index to be above as well, and for its from the period from here to there where it actually took like 11 bars, I personally wouldn't have actually taken that one because there's no market sentiment really once it reaches that far away. Alright, I'd rather get in something where, like this one for instance, the closer that these crossovers appear at the time when it happens, you can actually see that the market goes up more or less instantly. Okay, So let's just take a look, see if we can find some better examples. Okay. Okay, here's a buy opportunity, I believe. Okay. Now here's one right about there. Long on the next bar, but we need to work out if we take this opportunity, is it going to keep on going up higher? So we got to scoot over to the left, which is in the 140 areas, and it doesn't look like we actually see a 140 for quite a while. So you can see how long I've actually gone back for. I mean, this is the 140 areas, but you can see how long I've actually went back for, and I would have said to myself, okay, that's too far. If I don't have any immediate areas in there, then I'm just going to basically ignore that signal. I mean, it's taken quite a while. Let's see if we can zoom out. See if I can get a good handle on this. Alright, okay, so that does look like there's there is something going on here. Looks like there's a bit of support slash resistance levels there, and there's a little bit of support and a little bit of resistance around there again. A bit more support, a bit more resistance. So that would have been an iffy area to actually get in on actually. So I wouldn't have taken anything like that. Let's see if we can find some other areas. Okay, what's this one here? Okay, it's on a red candle, that's good. Okay, ADX looks great. Where would we go in? On the next bar. Right there. And that's a pretty strong signal just with the ADX alone. And we would target the next sort of like, arcs, the arcs below. So that's one area of our TP. The next one would be around about there. And then when you can see the next bar, see how it's actually broken. That's a good indication that it might keep on coming down. But when you start seeing them coming close to like the very bottom bar of the Bollinger Band, the closer it is, the more it's going to actually come down. Alright. And yeah, you can use these areas. I mean, you can see that this is actually being, this area right here is actually being respected over here, and the market kind of stopped there and went back up and actually stopped at the next bulge, which is around about there, and then it came down again, and we've got this other break of the candle below the Bollinger Band. So that's all good. I mean, that one would have been okay to get in on. We would probably need to take a look again for support and resistance levels to see if that one's okay. The signals come through true here, but these support slash resistance levels need to be taken a look at as well. Alright, let's just clear some of these lines off. This is just a strategy that I'm making up out of thin air right now to see if they actually do come through true. And obviously you need to play around with these to test them to see if they are actually within your comfy zones, your trading style. And here's a much better example. This candle actually does penetrate at the time when the negative directional index and the ADX line actually cross each other at the same time, and then I will go in short on the next bar. And also we see that this area here, became constricted, and then it eventually just burst out, and then these candles try to burst out on the lower side and kept on doing it. So that dictates the rest of the trend direction. But it was nice to get a nice confirmation from the ADX as well. Okay, and then we'll take a look to the left and see if there's any kind of traffic in between to stop it from coming down, and there doesn't really seem to be any traffic there for quite some time. Alright, so that looks like a pretty good trade that you could have gone into as well. Alright, so if anything, I would personally wait for those type of setups and wait for them to line up with those, and if they don't line up, just completely ignore them. Alright, I mean, like here is one here as well. Okay, and you see that the line did actually penetrate below the bar, the bottom lower bar of the Bollinger Band, right there. Okay, here is another sell signal right here, but you see how it falls on a green bar, so that we wouldn't have done this one. Alright, we would have ignored it. Okay, let's take a look at a buy signal. We're looking for when they actually do them at the same time. I mean, this one didn't ring through true, because if you take a look at this area here, the negative line here, you see how they how this one actually hit at the same time, but this one was kind of like delayed after so many times, and this one didn't actually go in the direction that we wanted it to, like this one did. It actually did come down more or less instantly, and this one went sideways for a little bit before coming down. But we don't know if it's going to come down or whether it's going to go back up when it uses, you know, when the signal appears like one after the other. This one, there's two signals appeared at the same time, or two kind of areas that we're looking for that lined up at the same time, but the two actually here only lined up after some time of lining up. You know, this one actually confirmed the 30, and then this one confirmed the 30 afterwards. The black line confirmed the 30 afterwards, but these two confirmed the 30 at the same time, so that would have been no good, and this one here would have been a better opportunity. Plus it also lined up with the red arrows there as well, sorry, the red candle. Alright, so that was no good. So let's just see if we can get another example here. That one, okay, this is pretty close. I just need to move it a little bit more to my right. This is pretty close. This is within one bar each other, and we can see that the wick of this one did actually fall below, and the Bollinger Bands were getting closer together. Then they just moved further apart, and then they just chose that rest of that direction to go in. All right, so that Bollinger Band worked out well along with this particular area here. It's actually within one bar each other. Actually, it's not like 6 bars like the previous bar that had a had a green candle above it. So this one would work out well. Alright, so you're going to have to try and allow for those new allowances, and then if you made that new allowance, then you want to try and see if this allowance actually rings true through every other time that you actually create a signal. Alright, okay, so here's one that does ring through true, but here you see the bottom part of the Bollinger Band right here, that will act as a support line. Alright, it's kind of like an invisible support line, and it's a phenomenon that I haven't really worked out why it does that. It's just a pattern that I've seen emerge quite a few times. Alright, let's see. I mean, like here, I mean, let's see where this Bollinger Band, and look, the market stops right at that line, and then it drops again. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Here is another Bollinger Band down here at the bottom, and eventually the market hits it. Here is another Bollinger Band at the top here, and eventually the market hits it. So it always seems to be coming back to that line, like the Ichimuko indicator that we've been talking about in previous videos. It acts as like a kind of an equilibrium level. Alright, so use those elements in your analysis when you're using this particular strategy, i.e. first of all, okay, make sure they line up at the same time. Okay, the negative directional index and the ADX line, make sure they line up at the same time, reach the value of 30. Then see if where it actually lines up at the same time, give or take 1 bar, if it's actually on a red candle. Alright, if you account for the second bar and one of them actually lines up on a green candle, then completely dismiss it. You don't really want to take the gamble. Alright, so if the one or two bars that you do, make sure they both land on the red and see if either one of the two actually break below the bar, and then you can go short on that, but make sure again that you're using support and resistance levels. And you can also use, you know, the bottom parts of the Bollinger Bands or the top parts of the Bollinger Bands to act as your support and resistance levels, or TPs and stop loss levels. Alright, so give that a go, see how you get on. Alright, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye for now.